We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm back. That still has a nice beat to it. Still seated twerking to bounce. New Year, and that song still has a vibe in 2025. Also, it's time for a new intro. I am in with a podcast change. I added the F.A.A.F.O to it, but I'm back with the same formula that has allowed me to be successful in the past. I've set realistic intention. I plan on being present and following through, but I still intend to remain petty and hold grudges. Not all intentions need to be positive. Also, I will be unengaged and unbothered by people and things in my life that do not serve me. That means parasitic people, unsolicited judgments, biased newspapers, and mainstream banks. I will not apologize for maintaining my mental peace. Happy and unbothered and at peace because I'm at unbothered. All day, every day, being unbothered is my way. Join me. Petty affirmations. You will volunteer your time. You will contract physician work in locales where you're the only black or person of color for hundreds of miles. You will work twice as hard for less money, even though you're the best that they have ever seen. Why are you trying to play in our face, though? Ain't nobody got time for that. We have options. We're not trying to do that much work and work as hard. Most of us are gainfully employed. We're grateful, but we ain't stupid. Matter of fact, fuck your goofy ass MAGA voting parents and them kids. How about that? And get out of my face with that mess.
To my homegirl, Naquita J. Elmore, Najee. Lift every chair and swing till all them white folks scream. Thought y'all could run up on our black king. I'm glad the squad pulled up, dedicated to Nuck if you buck. May it resound loud as the rolling sea. Throw your hats high in the air until Unc comes with the chair. Swim the seas until our cousins come and they rescue me. Let this be a lesson to y'all. Remember the Montgomery Brawl, where white folks fucked around and they found out.
I have realized several things. I listen to several other podcasts, and I get my snippets of pop culture from podcasters like Crystal and Kid Fury from The Read, the Carlos King, and also Dimitri L. Lucas. The most recent update from Demetrius I saw on her social media page that she's going back to Cape Town. She's headed back to South Africa. I do recall that one of conversations that stick out with my coworkers is one of my coworkers was very concerned that because of the recent shenanigans in DC, the crashing of the market, the extension of her need to be able to continue to work, and she didn't have any options to go anywhere. I'm like, girl, you haven't done Ancestry, you have options. And then I thought about it, and she's like, well, she furthered it without me prompting. It's like everybody hates Americans, and I'm like, girl, that's your story, not mine. I have options. And Blaxit is a thing. It's been a thing for years. It's been a thing since Marcus Garvey. It has been a thing in the most recent decade because we as African Americans, Black Americans, have always been profiled. We got people running up on us. When you get arrested or pulled over, that is an incentive for them to kill you. Ask Rodney King, same thing happened several years later where he cried out for his mother. And Black Lives Matter, and all of the rollbacks that are happening as we speak. We see a run up on a government sanctioned, multiple years in the making, hoarder's paradise, because y'all want to rewrite history, because y'all figure if I mess with the Black folks and I try to erase slavery, because I don't want people to talk about it, because I don't want people these same people to realize that an entire country and world economy was based on the back and of their sacrifice, because I don't want them to remember who they are and their contributions. I want them to humiliate themselves by performing at my inauguration, even though I don't give a screw butt about them. This president, I believe, is more hated among multiple communities for being a liar, and just because his weave is wrong. It's just all wrong. You didn't listen to all the drag queens before you basically got up on a world stage with that messed up weave. Boy, bye. And your orange Cheeto powdered self. But at the same time, Blaxit is still not an option for me for one reason. I'm very lazy. I don't feel like moving. I've gotten a location and a place where I actually feel comfortable with an extension of my services from Terminex and a great stockpile of Hot Shot and closing in the back and being experimental and still growing my own food, but also keeping my new membership to Costco up to date. I think I'm going to survive a few minutes. I think I'm okay with not shopping, because I found out that although I can run it up at Cartier and all of these other places with brand names and authentic non-hustle man gear, I can also research and find out how to not only save money, but also how to increase my money. The reasons why I don't really want to bounce right now, because from an economic standpoint, it doesn't make a whole bunch of sense to me. There is a whole continent waiting for me to come back with open arms, but I don't think I'm ready from a standpoint, because number one, my knee's bad and I don't feel like being on a plane that long. But at the same time, I'm also very annoyed with the fact that y'all are doing all of these diversionary tactics to erase the fact that of my contribution, and knowing whose I am and what my contribution of my people have been for the totality and the extent of this country. I'm not going to forget. I got long memories. And I'm also very petty. I'm going to be looking up more so Real Housewives of Atlanta memes, but at the same time, learning the difference between treasury notes and T-bills. How is it better to invest in which cryptocurrency as a president crashes the market only to have his buddies' stocks increase? I'm witnessing and right in the middle of the biggest insider trader from an international standpoint and wondering who's going to be first to prosecute these mugs, because this is some international BS that is going on here. It's more so than you crashing the market and then your boys actually benefiting. But we're also talking about a possibility that entire brokerage firms are in on this grift, and it's all being recorded, and how big it is. And you also a 32 times felon. Your 2 strikes are up. I'm going to need to see this. I'm going to need to see the chains. I'm going to need to see the handcuffs. I'm going to need to see all of this. But I'm not stupid. At the same time, I'm doing my research, and I'm also seeing how I can benefit, because in case I need an economic or financial jump bag to get the hell out, I need to be able to get the hell out. But there's also part of me that wants to get healthy enough to be able to enjoy the next iteration of my life. And I'm not even a Scorpio. I'm just a petty Virgo on some get back ish and some I told you so's. Because y'all are so stupid and dumb that y'all don't realize that y'all are in these go-go, because we saw this before. We saw this in the 80s. And that's why the go-go years right after Reaganomics, etc., they were made for the Ponzi schemers, Madoffs of the world, going on for a couple of decades. But they were bought down. How you bring down a whole government? And you can still be risk adverse, but there's sometimes that you actually just got to get the mentality of, yeah, I'm going to need to run your pockets a little bit, because you don't want to pay. It would be cheaper if you just paid reparations. It would be just cheaper if you basically made up for the pay discrepancies. It would be cheaper if you just basically didn't decrease my performance grading. Because what should have happened, I realized looking back, that every year since the change of the guard, my grading as for my performance bonus went down. And then my company poor mouth for so long because a different part of the extension, the business arm of the company, they didn't pay their bills. So that affected the degree of my bonus. So I had to come up with a way to actually buy something frivolous, but at the same time, use that bonus to basically ensure whether I get paid, if I'm still working here next year, whether I get paid my performance fully or not, I'm still going to get what I would have been expecting. Because you can't depend on anybody but yourself and look for signs and basically profit, just like most people from a legal standpoint, be able to profit for your next, to be able to finance your own chapter, to create your own legacy, and maybe leave something behind to your family. No, I'm not married. I don't have any kids at this time, but I most of my benefits are going to be for my dog or whoever is going to be left to take care of her. There's some stuff I want to pay off. I'm sorry. I'm so sick of benefiting mortgage company and finance company for all of my RVs and extra automobiles. It's just, and it's disheartening that no one expects someone that looks like me to be able to benefit the same way. Not knowing unto myself until I did the research, my own investment scheme or how it looks like a hedge fund. I got long and I got short positions. They're saying that these tariffs and a lot of these trade wars are basically torpedoing the value of the dollar. Crypto may just be where it is. So fine. I have a credit card. I can buy crypto with this card. Going to need to do some research and see which are the most stable and which have it in them to basically have the biggest gains. And guess what, y'all? A lot of these currencies are traded 24/7 because they're not traded on the same platforms as the conventional NYC, etc. And there is going to be a crypto fallout secondary to the trade wars. The same thing happened after the last trade war that was instigated by the same jackass back in 2018. The real tea is we can and will be not only gainfully employed, but financially stable. And we got 85 million reasons that to people believe that we don't make contributions. They don't want us here anyways. Actually, we got 2 trillion million reasons that you do not think that we even now contribute to the overall financial stability, etc., of the United States. Even though y'all don't pay us the same, y'all try to lock us out of certain markets, we are still here. I just want a small percentage of it. And if I make it, good. I don't have a lot to lose. I'm not going to give it over to somebody else because I don't want to just make them wealthy. But I'm not going to give somebody the same amount of money you want me to spend buying your report. I'm actually going to have to take the time to do my own due diligence and research for things that are going to actually be beneficial to me. I may or may not share it, but that's on y'all. But while y'all are planning and scheming and cheating, I'm on your pockets at the same time. How about that? And just also be very wary about who you align yourself with, because I've said this before. You sell your soul to demons and then get up wondering why. Can't understand why you are covered in ashes and smelling like smoke. Because what's going on now is not a good look. History has long memories. People have long memories, and we petty as hell. And while you are planning to return me to a plantation, you're going to be looking at me from that Amazon warehouse and workhouse that you actually built for me, but that's where you're going to end up. How about those facts? Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. So take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a temporal rainbow. I can be anything. So take a look, it's in a book, a tenfold rainbow. A tenfold rainbow. A tenfold rainbow. A con by any other name just still smells as stanky. It is our need to hold on to belief, to meaning, logic be damned, that continues to fuel the great cons of the world, even as their contours shift with the times. This is from The Confidence Game, Why We Fall for It Every Time by Maria Konnikova. I'm basically had skipped to the last chapter of the book and figuring out why people, and if she had any other missives on the con. And I will say this: everybody may be subject to being conned or perpetrating a con. Nobody is too smart not to be conned. The cons are actually getting more. You would seem like they would just get more sophisticated. Some are, and some still use your own spirituality or your need to believe in something more so than logic. But I would conjecture being and recognizing the con and extracting yourself from it before you take a massive hit. I say that all the time as I complete this last course, because I decided back after I became a PI, or got my license to become a PI back in the summer of 2024, and then I elected to find a school where I could have full online training and get a degree in fraud investigation. Why fraud investigation? Because I wanted to basically be able to make money without leaving my house and stay in my pajamas. Being a PI is great. Doing skip tracing would be fascinating, but at the same time, having to truly leave my house and sneak around and record people, I ain't trying to do that. But I'm also trying to basically tattletale on a whole bunch of people and basically be paid on a percentage of a recovery of how much they stole from somebody. Again, all about running some motherfuckers' pockets and telling on people that do wrong and think they're going to try to get away with it, because at the bottom line, most crooks are at their baseline and very stupid. And it's their own egos that basically gets them got. So I'm actually all for that. Again, a douche by any other name still smells like vinegar, child. But anywho, but what I've noticed from the book, Maria Konikova's book, is people or cons, grifters, will use your own faith, your own circumstance against you to be able to run it up. And they'll continue to run it up. They'll continue to lie in the face of facts just because they can. There always is one person, maybe two, willing to support somebody that has basically said, I'm a liar, I'm on this con, come with me, let us all con together. And that's what I think in this collective sociopathy is going now. And as long as we are human and have free choice and free will, there are going to always be any of us falling for the con, unfortunately. And that's the bottom line from this book. Don't think you yourself is above the con, because you will get got. You just have to know when to extract yourself from that, is the bottom line from this book. I'm going to continue not only to read other books like this, but other articles, and also watch one of my favorite shows, American Greed, to figure out the details of cons, the extent that people go to rip off somebody else instead of exerting the same amount of energy to get it legally. It never ceases to fail me I just am astonished how many people and how long some of these plans are. And most of them are simple. It has always been a scheme or a confidence game from the beginning. But there's so many people. You're only limited in a con to how many people you can con or convince. Get it? Convince. To give you money and everything you got, because the con does not care if you have cancer, if you are sick, if your wife just died. They don't care. They only are interested in their own needs and how fast they can get you to do that transfer. They are just interested in on how long they can keep the grift going. The consequences, although it goes up exponentially, and once it becomes federal, and the likelihood you are not going to get any time if you don't go to trial, yeah, cop that plea, keep it pushing. You got caught, and you're going to get got. And everybody that submitted themselves to the con, it's always crazy. I didn't know it was a con. And then nobody complains while they're getting their interest payments, exorbitant interest payments from them promissory notes that from the beginning were illegal. It only becomes a problem when the interest payments stop. Not only because there is a possibility that not only do you lose all of your original investment, but you also lose those illegal interest payments because they were also a part of the con. It's getting got twice. It sucks. Now, and you get got with interest. How crazy and cruel is that? But because I'm on some get back, I told you so ish. If it sounds too good to be true, yeah, it is true. It sounds too good to be true. They told you so. You should have known. You decided to believe the con, and now you're going to get got. Everybody else that believe in this international con that's going on now, your penalty for believing and trying to cash in on this stuff is going to be even worse than anything that you can ever imagine. Y'all should just voted for the black child from California. I'm just saying. A messy bunch, the shady bunch, the shady bunch. I hope for checks is worth being part of the shady bunch. So I spent most of like Thursday through Saturday watching or binge watching The Valley season 1 in prep to get me prep for season 2. The Valley is a show on Bravo that follows the group of one African American girl. I don't even know her name. One over the top queen, Zach, and a whole bunch of 30, 40, early 40 somethings that used to work and serve from, oh gosh, what was that other one? With Sandoval and the tom-toms and sandwiches and a bunch of underfed white people that have now gotten older and moved to Encino, the Valley. And they got married, had kids, and some of them have matured, but some of them are really messy. This is another show that I realized that Girls and guys can be douchey. But in fact, all of the guys on this show, even the nice mixed dude, and Kirsten, and Janet, and the gay one, are all douches. I can smell the vinegar through the screen. And the douchiest, Jesse, he had to get blazed up on ayahuasca to kick the knowledge. Ayahuasca seems to cause a dissociative state that allowed him to look in on himself to realize just how douchey he was, and he still got separated from his wife. The actor Danny is lying to himself, and it doesn't make a good marriage. It just seems a lot of his scenes with his former Miss USA wife of 2014 just seems kind of performative. It didn't really get real until he admitted, or she admitted, how he wasn't listening to her, and when he got really, really, really drunk, how he showed his behind. And the king douche, Jax, who did work at Sir, okay, what is that show called? I can't even remember. He basically played his wife, didn't admit to her that he was really being douchey to her, being verbally abusive and dismissive and a drunk, that he tried to gaslight into her into believing. And he wanted to get rid of his hard drinking, running around ways. And he felt that he could do and treat her any way she wanted to, and they were supposed to be cool. But she seemed to have wised up, grew a backbone, and then decided that this was not the way, and she moved out. And I don't know if they've actually filed for divorce or are legally separated, but she's tired of his douchiness too. And low-key, she seems to be kind of a douche also. I'm just saying, y'all. So I'm glad I got to watch, and I have a very cursory understanding of the shallowness of this group of people. And it basically, I want to say it premieres either Monday or Tuesday night. If I don't watch it in its entirety on just YouTube, then I'm going to watch it on Peacock, because this show is a trip. And I'm going to need to see how it plays out, and how, because being this level of douchiness at y'all's age is not sustainable, and it's not a good look. As I sit here this wonderful Sunday afternoon, well, evening now, trying to get this podcast recorded and edited before I go to bed. It'll post tomorrow before I go to bed. But I am rewatching not only my favorite show, I watched to the end RuPaul's Drag Race, but now I'm rewatching. Oh my God, I can't believe this is before Kenya was rehabbing her home, and they rolled past Sheree's house, and this is like Real Housewives gold. And it's right on time, because this is like season 8. And this is wild because I just watched the latest episode with Carlos King and reality with the King. And he had guests on his show, Cynthia Bailey and Crystal Minkoff. I can't even remember her middle name, Kung. But I did not realize that I can listen to Cynthia all day. Number one, she is absolutely gorgeous. Cynthia Bailey is almost 60 years old, and she's still slaying. She's given hair, she's given face, and she got these quips, and I don't think she realized. They mentioned something about banana in the tailpipe, and she changed it from that is a quip from Beverly Hills Cop, and she changed it to Peach in the Tailpipe. And Carlo and his crazy laugh. She has a lot going on. She actually has this show, former reality stars. She's also on Humble Brag with Crystal, and she is just doing everything. And I did not realize that the cast photo, she's not on there. And the reason why she's not on there is because just like she was on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, a friend of the show, she is also just a friend of on this current season of Real Housewives of Atlanta. She says she's like to pop in, pop out, because she has so much other stuff going on. She's like an OG, but she's not required to be there and tape those grueling hours. It's so much different when she actually was a full-time peach holder. Her teaming up with Crystal in this humble brag, I don't even know what that's about. If you're humble, you don't brag. But I think Carlos was right. Crystal Minkoff came ready to read Carlos, and her little comebacks and the way it just seems like I was listening to the podcast, and I can only imagine her facial expressions because she came on ready to be shady and defend herself, and it was indefensible. Carlos all he basically said was he didn't know her. She was giving us nothing. And evidently, she has a multi-million-dollar company, like water company, that she couldn't talk about on the show. And she said she could not reveal her real self for whatever reason. And then when she did reveal herself, she came off as a rich bitch that is still unrelatable to me. It made her being with Cynthia made me like her even less. I didn't know her before. Now that I know her, I still don't like her. Just saying. I didn't, and I don't think Carlos was trying to be nice and say she basically needs to come back to the show. No, she don't. She's not built to be a housewife, because if you can't reveal the vast part of yourself, that does not make a housewife. That is not what a housewife makes. She never felt or never figured out how to be her real self. Even, what's her name? Sutton and her delusional self. We got glimpses of it, but if she tries to self-produce like she did in this segment, I don't need to see that. We got enough of that with the Kyles and the rest of them. I don't need to see any of that. One of the other things that I went back and watched based on just mostly at the suggestion of Cynthia Bailey, she had mentioned Real Housewives of like season 6 after Kenya and Portia had come on, how they at times just forgot that the cameras were there, and all the mess that was going on season 6, because that's also the same season at the reunion that Portia literally dragged Kenya. That's when we realized that season 6 reunion, that either that was all her real natural hair or her weave was sewn in and glued down, because Portia literally dragged her across the reunion stage. They sent Portia home. Kenya came back, freshened up her makeup, patted down her flyaways and pullouts, and finished the reunion. But y'all realize that, number one, Portia was not allowed to finish the reunion, and she went from full-time peach holder to friend of the entire season 7. So why are y'all tripping that Kenya is getting sat down? They didn't say that she's not going to come back to the reunion. They didn't say that she's not coming back in some capacity next year. They just didn't continue to film with her this year because this nonsense happened way on before the season actually had finished being filmed. And it is literally her fault. It is obvious that Britt Eady overreacted and basically played some card that she really wasn't about that life, and she dialed it back. And it was also overreacting by Kenya. I don't know what led up to it, or that she really wanted to have a break and didn't want to have to succumb to the strictures of recording and being held to that when she had so much other stuff going on and she just snapped. I don't know. But she was, I think, was properly punished because even though she didn't really drag her like Portia dragged her in season 6 reunion, what she did was unbecoming. And it wasn't to the level truly of revenge porn, because I actually looked that up. Revenge porn is where without your consent, you basically publish someone's in the sexual act to get back to them, to seek some type of revenge. However, if that was part of some tape that was already online that the private investigators found, the PIs found, which is kind of wild because I'm a PI. But anyways, that they found, or was some part of some OnlyFans or something else that she was in some type of compromising position that she made that was truly available for the general public, even though she didn't consent to it being shown, the stills being shown at Kenya's grand opening. She did consent for those images to be readily available because they were found online. Just saying. And us as the entire audience of viewers, we didn't see it because they blurred it all out. But I guess you go on that level of get back is not becoming. Dragging somebody's also not becoming. And you will get that way, the way the production company and network had to sit Kenya down, because she did not deserve that. Her retweeting some type of snarky stuff by Nene and basically going on is not consistent with bad mouthing the show, and she's not suing the network. And she basically has gone away and hasn't said a whole bunch of anything. She's wished the cast well. And Kenya, I think she's taken full ownership of what she did incorrectly. But she also knows what side of the bread butter is coming on. She does not want to burn down that bridge because she wants to come back in some capacity. Come back as a friend of, and if she still has the wind or the story, then come back as a full-time peach holder. Or she may see some benefit of being just a friend of kind of consultant, and she doesn't have to really come back in same full-time capacity with all of those commitments, because she has so much other more lucrative things to do. I think that may work out, and I think that's why she's not slamming the production company or producers or the network. She's not burning down that bridge like Nene did. Kenya, even though what she did to Britt was really stupid, she's also calculated and smart enough not to completely burn down and build, not keeping the options open as coming back to the show. I think she basically said her final goodbyes to this season and to being a full-time peach holder. But I don't think she has burned down her mechanism or her means to continue to sue the bag, but not just as a full-time person. I don't think she is never coming back. I just don't think she's coming back in a full-time capacity. And that's actually brilliant and smart. Because, we would be bereft of the more men of it all. I would dig that. And I would also, and I mean, if Kenya and Portia can work out their difference and we see how that looks with their children playing together and being friends, why wouldn't you allow us to see her work it out with Britt Eady? You know what I mean? Because worse has been done to Kenya and worse has been done to Kenya, more so than a blurred out picture girl. They can work this out. And we should, as a viewing fan, we should see them work it out. We shouldn't be left flapping in the wind like with the whole Candy and what's her name, Phaedra of it all. I'm not sure if Candy has the will and capacity to work that out and why Phaedra lied like she did. However, at the same time, I'm not willing to see any delusional self-produced moments either. I think if Phaedra was real and Candy came back and we could see, maybe it's too late. At this point, I really don't care. And plus, Kendra is having her day with a production. She may be in alignment for a Tony with her Spartacus with Denzel Washington on Broadway. She ain't got time for this mess, reality TV mess that from 9 years ago. Ain't nobody got time for that, and I'm not interested in that. That moment has passed. Now I'm into the more fresh moment of it all and resolution. And no more produced mess. I'm with what is going on in the here and now, how they resolve this. And we would be a disservice if we didn't see some type of resolution and Kenya coming back. I don't think they should let her come back full time because what she did was dirty. But at the same time, I would like to see how they resolve it. Because that janky apology that Britt Eady gave, it was just that. Janky apology, and her flowers looked cheap, and it was all performative, and I wasn't with it. You can take the girl out of the hood, but you can't take hood music out the girl. But I'm going to end this with a word, just as I started this podcast. Do or do not do. There is no try. And that's a word from Yoda. I hope I have conveyed just how much fun I have had in creating this podcast. I've got my mojo back. Just set your intention or reset your intention. It could be daily if necessary. Mine is peace. No mental dumping over here. If I'm acting like I'm not listening, I'm probably not. I'm not your therapist. I'm not a therapist. Keep the crazy to yourself, child. You do you and leave me be. The sooner you figure that ish out, the happier you will be. So this is what I want to convey in this podcast. And that wraps another of F.A.A.F.O has a fro. Join me next time as I throw shade and point out the shade and simply have fun. Y'all have a great new year. What, y'all? What?